In this video we will cover exporting the solutions so we can commit them to source control and also ensure that we have the right solution to deploy to upstream environments later. I always configure both the managed and unmanaged solution export, even though it takes a bit longer up front, as it provides the cleanest way in my experience to deploy a valid managed solution to the upstream environments and make sure nobody's messed about with the source control. So what we'll do is we will create the pipeline, add the tasks, then go on to configuring the pipeline tasks, ensuring that we've got both the managed and unmanaged export solutions, and a commit to source control after we unpack the unmanaged solution. The code for committing the source control, committing the unpacked solution to source control will be linked to the description of the video. Okay, so we start by creating a new pipeline. So we go to pipelines and new pipeline. For all my examples, we're going to use the classic editor connected to an Azure Git repo, and we're going to connect it to our repo for the solutions and just on the main branch. Next, we're going to start with an empty job template because we don't need any of the other configurations, and leave the agent specification is either 2019 or Windows latest. Okay, we'll give it a name. In this case it's 02 because it's normally the second step in our set of pipelines, and export solutions because that's what we're going to do, and then move on to the agent job itself. So to add the jobs, we're going to look for a set of pipeline tasks first of all, and we'll add all the tasks and then work through the configuration next. So first of all, we want to add the PowerPlatform tool installer. So we'll do a search for Power, select the tool installer, then we're going to use the PowerPlatform export solution. So again, we do our search, add the task, and we're going to add the task twice because one will be for the unmanaged solution, one will be for the managed solution. We are going to then search for Power Platform Unpack to extract our solution to source to flat files. We're also going to add in our command line script, just a standard command line, and finally we are going to publish artifact. And this makes the managed solution available for us later. You could, and if you wanted to, you could publish an artifact in a later pipeline after we've done a build from source control. In this case, we're exporting the managed solution, so we're just going to publish that as the artifact that we want. So we've got our 6 steps, and now we're going to start configuring them. We don't need to configure anything for the Power Platform tool installer. We just move straight on to the export. So on the export, we're going to select our service connection. So we'll pick our dev environment. In this case, it's Meteo SS 2022. We're going to leave our environment URL as a variable, and we're going to select the solution name. So the solution name in our case is SS 2022. Then we're going to select an output file. In this case, we want to differentiate between the managed and unmanaged solutions. So we use the build artifact staging directory to output to. We will use the solution name and then suffix it with unmanaged. We don't need to create a target version, and we'll leave that as 60 minutes. For this example, it shouldn't be any more than 60 minutes, but I have seen some operations take as much as 80 minutes, so you may want to increase that if you get timeouts. All the other settings can be left. We don't care about the system customization settings and system-wide settings for this solution. That may be different for you. You may want to include your ISV config or general settings, etc. in there if it's for a full system deployment rather than a solution deployment. All the control options we leave as standard. So we move on. Before we move on, let's rename this to include the fact that it's an unmanaged solution. This will be helpful later on if there's any issues with the build. You'll know that it's stopped at the unmanaged solution instead of just export solution. So next we move on to the managed solution export. So again, we rename it. Again, select the same connection because we're going to export the same solution, and then again it's SS2022 or whatever your solution display name is. In fact, I think it may be the internal name. I can't remember, but I'll update the video with the correct term. Again, the solution file, again, I've got it in clipboard, but we'll take that out and make sure that this one is called ss22 managed.zip. To export it as a managed solution, we need to check the export as managed solution box. Again, we'll leave all the other commands and parameters as default. Next, we're going to move on to unpacking the unmanaged solution. So again, if we had already exported our solution file in an earlier iteration, we could browse to it. We don't have that, so let's paste in the value we used from an earlier step, and we're going to select a target folder to unpack that to. So again, you can use the default sources directory and suffix that with your solution name. The type of solution we are unpacking is an unmanaged solution. We leave all the rest as default at the moment. I've not worked with localization and using LSIDs, but that may be something you need to consider. Finally, next we're going to move on to the command line script. We're going to rename this just so that we know what that script's doing. So commit changes to source control and paste in our script. The script will be linked in the description of the video, but it will provide a single git push each time overwriting all the source control for your solution, but you'll still be able to see a history of the changes. Lastly, because I don't want to have to repack the solution, I want the managed solution to be available straight away. We're going to publish that as a pipeline artifact. So again, we select the file or directory path. In this case, it's the artifact staging directory from earlier, and we select the solution that we exported. So in this case, it's SS2022, and it's the managed solution that we're going to publish. We give it a name. The name doesn't matter so much. It's what we will use in later steps to publish our solution, and we're going to publish that through to the Azure pipelines. All the other parameters for this step can be ignored. Okay, and then we can save the build pipeline, and this prepares our solution to be deployed. Before we can configure the actual deployment, any published pipeline artifact pipeline has to run first. So typically we will queue that to get the artifact published so that we can select it in later pipelines.